ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Season 9 of EMEA Masters for Face It League for VanirQuick. And we have, once again, as we put on every single week here, another fantastic matchup that we have for you. Redline versus VanirQuick, two teams that are currently next to each other in the standings, currently in a little bit of a dangerous area. Both, of course, want to make it into that playoff bracket, do everything they can to avoid relegation. And I'm Hector, joined by Spectron. It's been a long time since we've been together, and we should hopefully have a banger of a matchup to bring to you.
I should hope so. Obviously, this VanirQuick team is incredibly powerful. Redline might be an interesting test for them, with some players who have a habit of throwing some curveballs. You know, when we look at Fake Jake and experience with Team Poland, with Meta Boys, more recently with SR Peakjet, can bring a lot of interesting utility that maybe VanirQuick might not be entirely prepared for. I think that, you know, with current patch being, I think, unpleasant, to be honest, I think it is kind of slightly lowering the skill floor a smidgen, I would say. Don't quote me on that, though. I think just with the prevalence of Mizuki, I think some of these faster, in my opinion, more skillful characters are just so much harder to play, because you just, like, you get chained, you're insta-dead.
Yep.
It's a rough time, right? And so I do think that character is somewhat of a leveler. That being said, with two more losses on the side of Redline than VQ, we can pretty firmly say that our home team is going to be the favorites.
And also just from name recognition as well. You called to attention some of the players of Redline. There's certainly no slouches. Team that came up out of relegation have been keeping a little up to date. They've been able to at least stay with the pack for the time being. But just sheer name recognition tends to skew things slightly in the favor of VanirQuick. You have names such as Zorro, such as Tomek, such as Centralapan. Even on the bench, you have players like Rod FD, Gucci, Yoham, and then Kale and Elias, who specifically impressed me quite recently, actually. Elias, a newer name, not one that I was too familiar with, but one that I'm definitely going to have to be learning a lot about. Put on, I believe it was the Tracer, and doing an absolutely phenomenal job for VanirQuick. A predominantly Swedish team should be able to work with each other quite well. Of course, they are a team with some history, with some tenure. They're not exactly new. So hopefully there's that level of synergy that they have, plus the name recognition. It is hard to say that VanirQuick are not the favorites here. Redline.
Yeah, I mean, like some of these players have like won Face It League or just been in OWCS full stop. But as you mentioned, individuals should be ahead of a lot stronger. Redline, obviously, get the map pick in. It's going to be an Antarctic Peninsula to start things off. Map freshly reworked, of course, still more playable than before, but the compositions are going to be about the same. It's very often you'll see that Sig Mizu comp played out. Redline want no part in it with a ban on that, and a Jetpack Cat as well stops any sort of nonsense, so it very likely will be running in with the Mizukiri on like a hazard you'll see very often. Central Japan especially has been known to lock that hero more often than not, and so I wouldn't be surprised at all with that pick. But Malga, of course, so powerful at the moment as well, especially with that Reaper Shion setup. Your amount of frontline damage is just obscene. You can take these hits so aggressively, and your angle fights as well, hard to deal with, and so I might just be mirroring that out as we get started. By the way, sides are swapped at the moment. That is Redline on the right side, VanirQuick on your left, and the door's now open.
Mirrored compositions. We're going to see Malga style exactly what we want for these teams. Both Cheyenne's going to try and get some cheeky damage with their motorbikes early on before playing on the angles, while the rest of the team should stay relatively in main. Zorro versus Noxu going to be very important to win. And Zorro is the one who ends up taking it. That should be a firm pick in the favor of VanirQuick. And yeah, they're just going to be able to run over the rest of Redline for it. Just a mechanical gap there.
It was also a pretty bold push there from Noxu. I'm not sure about that, especially when you're not supported by a support, right? Very aggressive, maybe not so well considered, and pretty easily punished for it. VQ, obviously first cap, very comfortable on a comp like this. You know, once to give a hit, you can avoid it for a little while, but why bother when you can probably just run into the enemy team again?
Yeah, Redline, they've been forced to expend a lot of cooldowns. VanirQuick also use a couple of their own. Mirroring TPs coming in from the Reapers, a go signal that we want to get a little bit of action. Fake Jake has been able to clear a lot of space for the high ground here. Redline have firmly cemented their control over that. Does this mean they're going to be able to get the objective? Maybe not if we try and push in aggressively onto the rest of VanirQuick. A lot of bravery coming out perhaps misplaced is Fate Jake taken out by Zoro. The Shine always on the side, always in the angles that you don't expect them to see coming. Can just really clean up these chaotic fights and get some cheeky picks.
Indeed. Fight still ongoing. Bite won't connect, but the pistols may yet. Somehow able to escape his monk, but on a timer still. Zoro unrelenting and an OWCS DPS and able to get the chase in the end. Obviously, ultimate now online. That Satsuriku spree, as well as everything else from VanirQuick. Now active. Redline's a little bit late to those ultimates and may well struggle in an ult fight. But they need to find success. Pushing past 70%, they're running out of time.
And this is a cage that could become Kappa's on prison,
Whoa!
but he counter it back, and Fate Jake gets all the value in the world with that. It was Kappa that lined up, and it was Fate Jake that knocked them all down. Fantastic work there. Good synergy as well. VanirQuick, they did have a sound barrier they could have used to survive that, but I don't think used quite in time is a tool they're going to have for the next fight, though.
Yeah, both teams spend 3 ults. When all's said and done, VanirQuick, the one's now on the back foot. Cage from Central Lapan. What has he caught? Kappa dead.
Ooh. Yeah, immediately taking out the enemy tank. That's a good way to assert your dominance over the point, over the high ground. Fate Jake forced to TP out. We are on 76% here, so it's not quite one... well, no, it is more than one fight territory, but there is potential for a retouch here. But that is conducive on your Reaper being able to escape, and that's not going to happen. Kale with the setup, Centralapan with the finish, and now 90% on the point in a 4v5 situation that Redline is somehow going to have to fight into.
You do at least have ults if you are Redline. Again, that Satsuriku spree no longer a factor. Noxu taken care of. John T beat just a little bit too late. 2% left to go. I don't believe a touch has come through. VanirQuick, clinical to start things off. They do lose that one fight. Obviously, a Fate Jake Blossom, nothing to scoff at. But after that, I mean, rough for them. And at this point, we have to say that the favorites are looking like they are in control. Zoro, especially on this Shion, has been, it feels like, absolutely unstoppable. The hero, it feels like, responds to aggression well, but if you overpush, you get heavily punished, right? You don't have a recall, you don't have a deflect to get you out of these sticky situations, and Zoro has been towing that line fantastically.
It's good work. Is there anything else that Redline could offer us here? That did seem pretty one-sided. It was a nice ult combination between Kappa and Fate Jake that was able to get some of that initial value. But that was the only fight win. If you're going to have to rely on ult every single time to win your fight, it's not going to be a good look when there's so much time spent in the neutral as well, right? Instantly, we're going to have Centralapan trying to take some distance in main before eventually coming over to the side. Kappa taking a lot of damage very quickly. So many resources expended, ones that VanirQuick going to be able to use later, but Kappa stomps in, finds Kale, and it's good work. Still trades going back and forth. Seems to be in the favor of VanirQuick, and yeah, they're going to be able to clear things up here.
Yeah, Kappa's still a threat, still has to be cared, but equally might be staggered. That shout not online, the chain gun's powerful, but not so good. Zoro is taken care of. Noxu a double kill, and Noxu finally finding his voice in this match. Playing a little bit more on the main angle, that's trying to duel out Zoro and has found success. 10% approximately for VanirQuick, but how long can they hold for now down 2 members?
That's exactly what we're going to have to see here. Holding in main for the time being. We are looking at Noxu getting potentially closer to those threes, but Tomix actually gets the first ultimate on the board. It is the Kitsune Rush. So much overwhelming damage, but the disengage is very good from Redline. Fate Jake almost in a tricky position. You know that the aggression is going to come out from a team like VanirQuick. Be very careful, Kappa. There is a frozen lake right there that you do not want to be falling into. Doesn't matter, you're just going to get executed the ordinary way instead and being forced to back up and go to the drawing board once again.
Indeed. That being said, you have plenty of time to get off the board this time. Your ults are online a little bit earlier than before. These fights have been close, and you do have a window to punish before Tomix has another Kitsune Rush. Kyle still 20% from that beat. It's a window you need to be going into. We missed the stomp. We're instead Cage, a Blossom on top of that causes chaos.
Yes, it absolutely does. That's 60% now on the board for VanirQuick. Redline. I mean, they have the opportunity to use their ultimates, I suppose, but it's going to be
difficult for them. VanirQuick, they're positioning aggressively. I think they want to take an early fight, knowing that they are at a deficit, see if they can catch Redline with their pants down effectively. That's why Elias is on such a cheeky angle here. Fake Jake going to utilize the Death Blossom to catch one in Kale. The sprees, stereo sprees coming out, but they are definitely in the favor of Noxu. So Redline have a new lease on life now.
Yeah, the Shion Satsuriku spree needs to find some amount of value if you're hitting early like that, else you just get pounded. Zoro goes on a bit of adventure, isolated, taken care of, and in the meanwhile, Redline win that fight. About one fight territory, though. That 11% matters very little in the grand scheme of things, and Redline, just a sound barrier to play with, have to be very worried about this Tomek's Kitsu, and so they have to be looking for an early beat before they just lose out on ult value. Elias, taken care of, though, gives them a much-needed breath of air.
That's your reprieve. That's the sort of individual playmaking you need. They're going to go for broke, actually. VanirQuick investing both support ultimates into this. Redline only forced to respond with their sound barrier. I think that's maybe VanirQuick biting off a little more than they can chew. They put the Kitsu into the 4v5, but when the opponent has a sound barrier, well, what good is that going to do?
Yeah, quite. I just have no reason, to be honest, why you would ever go for double support.
Explain, why are they doing this?
You're down one, almost down two, you just run it down. Listen, you only need one fight, just bang ults, win off the back of them. Now you're broke, they're broke, and you just need to win a neutral fight. No reason to take them if you don't have to. Monk with that Kitsune rush now, looking to pop it early.
Timing is really good as well. Kappa slams in the moment that comes down, so it's a lot of damage on Centralapan. The disengage is still solid, but Redline are keeping up the pressure onto the front line. Tank trade, that's exactly how you want to play that fight. You use the one ultimate on the board. You're able to charge up some extra ones on the side as well. Good work. Now final fight territory for both of these teams.
That's true. Redline probably looking for an early hit. Again, they recognize slow playing, 4 Cage, 4 Blossom will probably catch them on the rougher side of the ult cycle, and so Noxu going first with that Satsuriku play is surely what their game plan is once more.
Yeah, it has to be, right? And then go in quite aggressively with this as well. Spree comes out. We're doing some acrobatics. We've been able to survive for a while, but Zoro eventually has to be felled by that. Dual cages coming out, despite the fact I'm very surprised how much damage Centralapan took there, but it was eventually the Death Blossom able to see things out here. Redline tie things up. They're making this first map more competitive than we initially gave it credit for.
Yeah, it was pretty one-sided down there on sub-level, but when we get to Icebreaker, then Redline able to reassert themselves. I feel like Noxu going for less, like, angle fights, just kind of stacking on main a little bit more is working out for him. And I think Redline are mostly being on ult economy more than anything else, right? You get 1 or 2 mechanical picks. Lovely to have, sure, but it feels like they're punishing VanirQuick's overextensions, and they're normally just winning because they've got better Q buttons than their opposition. Home team are going to have to lock in, because there's a couple times where they've overspent in situations they didn't need to. Currently, it's shooting them in the foot, and if it does so once more, then they could start 1 and 0 unexpectedly down in this first map of our series.
Yeah, one of our firm favorites as well. Still going to be no shenanigans here. The bike instantly hits onto Zoro. So good amount of damage. It's going to be forced to back off for a moment. So Redline, it will take a little bit of slightly better positioning early on the slightly higher ground. So Centralapan goes for the wraparound. Both of these Malgas sort of running into thin air right now, but more damage has come out onto Kappa. So the frontline trade is definitely favoring VanirQuick. Of course, if Noxu can get these snipes off, it's going to be fantastic. But no, the VanirQuick players can survive just by the skin of their teeth. Aggressive push comes in from Redline. A lot of resource expended. VanirQuick seems like they've absorbed it quite well, though. And they've actually positioned themselves on the objective now. We see that Kappa's going to drop off the high ground, isolate himself, take so much damage, and yeah, your eyes were definitely bigger than your belly there, mate.
Centralapan, no such issue. 3-piece from the Malga. Kel steals the 4th, but first Kappa again in favor of VanirQuick. Ult's pretty good for you. A couple 5% on the Kitsune Rush. Maybe even the most important. No, I tell a lie. It's Carl. That sound barrier was 40% over Jonty. I understand Jonty's an older player, but I mean, you think that experience helps more on the Lucio at least. Carl, though, basically Season 7 winner. Able to outvalue here, and this is an advantage that is hard to mess up.
Yeah, the timing is a little off with that engaged. Mirrored Kitsunes on the objectives, and Centralapan feeling very healthy, has a lot of HP, and also doesn't have a Reaper to worry about any more, chunking him down with damage. Tomek's going to take more than enough care of that. It's going to be another clean fight. late trade from Monk is nice to have, but it's not going to make too much of a difference to the proceedings.
I mean, Carl just going to run back, tug the Kiri. VanirQuick will still be back before Monk and Noxu are, and Redline very little advantage, unfortunately, off the back of that kill. They do choose to play about a corner back, nice to have, but both teams at approximately 4 ults. This is as close to an even fight as you can get here in Overwatch.
Kappa goes for a slam, doesn't find anything with it, and it's actually been bullied out on the side, so we're forced to go for a wraparound. I think VanirQuick, they might want to scout this. They don't want to get caught with their pants down by a big angry Samoan man. It's going to be worst case scenario. This would be a juicy cage opportunity, and we are going to be catching Centralpan in the cage, but gets hit with the sound barrier, so that Death Blossom is going to be relatively ineffective. Elias ends up winning out the Reaper duel. Noxu, however, winning the Shion duel, getting more value out of the spree there. But Tomex, again, Tomex in the last fight was getting some crazy pickoffs, and now doing it in this fight as well, putting the team on his back just a little bit. 95%, unsure if a touch is going to be able to come through. We're going to have to see some crazy Tokyo Drift action, either from this Lucio or from the Shion, but neither of them going to be able to accomplish it. Made us sweat a little bit for it, but the first map does go the way of VanirQuick on arguably, as you say, a home turf. Antarctica and Norway, they're like the same thing, you know?
Sure, let's go with that. Why not? Why not?
They're both cold and in the north.
That is true of a lot of places, you know? Share the moon.
Actually, no, Antarctica's not even in the north. What am I talking about?
Yep.
They're both cold.
Yep. You know what else is cold?
What else is cold?
The vacuum of space, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
This conversation. No, listen. Honestly, strong play from VanirQuick. I think once they get off Icebreaker, it works out a lot better for them. Redline just seems to have got a stronger ult cycle going there. And when they didn't have that to lie back on, their retakes have not been anything to write home about, right? I'll take a gander at the stats specifically, see if there's anything I can point out to you that is interesting. But I think if you are Redline, it's probably just a map to write off. Obviously, you get that, what's the word? Extra point, that's cool, that's nice. But when it's your opponent's, at least like first ban, which I believe it was, then you do end up playing very much their ball game. And Centralpan on the Malka is a pretty tricky one to win.
I mean, surely you have to ban out the Malga next. There's a lot of individual components to making any comp work, but arguably it's the very simple, straightforward solution. If the tank is giving you problems, if that style of play with the Malga is giving you problems, just ban the Malga. And everything else sort of follows that, respectively. It's hard to say when you're... It's very hard to say when the entire team is giving you these kinds of problems. I think that Fake Jake was doing a pretty solid job, at least on that second point on the Reaper. Fake Jake actually a player that I would associate with that Reaper role. I would say that a lot of that was started. I mean, obviously we saw Tomex, and we saw Tomex's ability on the flex supports, especially the Kiri at the end. Obviously being able to get so many impactful kills in these fights, not just stray cleanup kills either, but actual, engaging picks that help the rest of the team out. And of course, the tank matchup, as you mentioned, was very one-sided in the favor of Centralpan. Next map, I believe that we'll be going to is King's Row, from my understanding. Where else would we be going? There's a lot of room on Kings to play what you want. This could be what you say earlier. Both these teams seem to like the Kiri Lucio. They rolled out with that, even though there was no Mizuki ban. But when you come down to that could be a control thing. You come down to a map type like Hybrid. I think the Mizuki could slow the game down a lot more.
Yeah, I think Miz is also obviously going to be heavily tank dependent.
You know him like that.
Yeah, I do. I'm famous like that. You wouldn't get it.
Got you. I don't have a follow Wikipedia page. Don't worry.
You literally do, I swear.
I don't have a Wikipedia page.
You don't have Wikipedia, bro. Lock it
in. You were saying?
I mean, if you have the ability to play Sigma, then it's much more likely that Mizuki is going to be played. Obviously, Sigma was banned out on that first point, and so it's less likely that he ends up coming out. But it also depends on what tanks are being played. If you see somebody rocking a D.Va, people are just going to go on to Miz immediately. It's a good character. I don't know what to say. It's really broken.
Yeah, it is. We're just waiting on the bans to come through. This is going to be very impactful, of course. It's clear that the mirror matchup just... Well, I say the mirror matchup wasn't working out. I'm going to ask you, because you have a more analytical mind than me. Just very clever, intelligent, handsome man spec. What was the difference on that second point? Because second point was quite close, obviously. It was final fight territory. But what was it between that one going the way of Redline compared to VanirQuick, who, I mean, looked like an entirely separate team compared to the first and the third subpoints?
VanirQuick trolled the fight where ults came online. Because remember, we had a couple people push up to try and chase, I believe it was Kappa? We might have to check me on that, maybe Noxu. And Noxu finds the double kill. Gives them numbers advantage, they walk into the retake, now they have ults and they're in defense, so they could play better ult cycle and end up winning. Before, like, they don't really have and after as well, they don't have a chance to really play that retake. Anytime they have ults, so does their opponent. And because they're the ones attacking, they're the ones who are forced to spend more, right? Their ults are always going to be worse. And so I think we kind of do forget sometimes and talk about winning and losing on control, just how defender-sided these points are. If you're in control of the point, your fight win percentage is probably like 70%. It's so easy to hold, relatively speaking. So you win the first fight and you put yourself in such a good position.
Yeah, especially, I think I know what you're referencing there as well. It was the layered ults. When you enter a 4v5 situation, of course, the play scenario that is, okay, back up. Yeah, that's the Malban. That's exactly what we expected to see. So this is going to slow the game down, especially with the Kiri being gone as well. More than likely that we will be seeing the... more than likely that we'll be seeing the Mizuki coming out, as you
Juno,
said.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, that seems realistic. No Malga. I would tell you what I would love to see, because it's actually been played now in LCS, the Rhine, because we are on Kings, and so it just sort of has to be done out of logic. Now, maybe we don't all have the juice in us that these North American OWCS teams have. But, you know, why don't we bring that sort of culture to Europe, you know? Okay, we're actually going straight into
well, listen, we've seen what happens when Europe goes to the US, and it's a lot more entertaining, so...
It is, in fact, coming home.
4-1.
I've never seen more of a hater. Okay, yeah, it is the Juno Mizuki style, which we did see. Sigmas on both sides. Almost full mirror matchups. Only slight difference in the flex DPS. Fate Jake on the Mei. Elias on the Pharah. iTest says that I like the Pharah a little bit more, but of course Mei has her strengths. If you can help with these rotations for some of these close fights, you're going to be able to do a very good job. So much chunk damage onto Kappa, who's now forced to retreat off the high ground. Redline sticking together, though I will point out that Monk is a little far back, a little split up from the rest of the team. Elias, yeah, just raining pot shots into the small corridor that everyone's running out of. You're going to get a kill eventually.
Yeah, I feel like Redline... I'm not really sure about the Mei here. There's no reason for Centralapan to drop unless he's already in advantage, and if he doesn't drop, you can't find wall value. Much easier for Elias, who just chills, throws rockets in. Maybe he double rockets somebody, maybe he doesn't. It low-key doesn't matter. The point is, your rotates are hard. Exactly, you get damaged, you're harassing the rotate, you've got concussions when you need it. It's consistent, and he's always finding value no matter where Redline are on the map. Compared to your opposition, which doesn't. Here we go. Value from Elias. He's taken no risk for that. What's Fajic done in the meanwhile? You know, it's not even a skill issue. I think Fajic's a really good player. It's just Mei doesn't do anything.
Especially because of all the characters that can deal with you effectively. Yep, Sojourn's the hit scan, sure, but not one that's going to be able to just snipe a far out of the sky. You know, you can play with these windows, play in these angles will be just fine. Maybe Kappa can try and rotate in a way to flush out the Pharah, but, you know, against characters that can just fly away from you. Easier said than done. Kappa trying to go forward. You can see how much damage Kappa's taking compared to such relatively little, and then that's the perfect chain timing coming out, along with the aggression from Zoro with the overclock, helps to secure a kill onto Fate Jake there. Monk did have the orbital raid, surprised not responding immediately, but going to save that for maybe a rainier day.
I mean, this is another fight that perfectly illustrates my point. I feel like Centralapan drops, Fate Jake goes in with the wall, but because Centralapan has correctly judged the situation to be, you know, in enough advantage to get away with that push, the wall finds no value. You just walk past it, run over Kappa. And Redline now down to a minute and a half. Sure, you've got the Kekai Sanctuary, your Orbital Ray, your Gravitic Flux, your Blizzard. But your opponents have all these things as well, right? And your opponents are the ones with momentum on their side. Your opponents are the ones with this defensive positioning. Sure, wall allows you to walk up, but once it falls, then what?
I think you try and get yourself on the point, and then you force a drop and then collapse. But when the ults are online, that's just not going to work, because when you try and do that, Elias is going to rain hell and fury from you on the sky. Monk even committed the orbital ray there. Tomex didn't even do that. Arguably the strongest ult that you... Yeah, nice fadeaway. Arguably the strongest ult that you have on that side, and it does nothing in that fight.
Well, the advantage here is that VanirQuick did spend 3 ultimates. Redline only used that ray. And so, while they do clear off the point, 40 seconds now, they need to figure out a way of finding ray value into Redline's everything else, right? And remember, when you can deny that ray with the Sanctuary, or the Flux, or the Blizzard, suddenly this fight is looking pretty good for Redline. Kappa, you need to live. You are not pre-fighting yourself for no reason.
Oh, Zoro hit with the chain. Jonte doing a very good job there to secure the 4v5. Tomex now decides this is time to commit the ray, but it is, as you say, the Blizzard coming out. Great snipe out of the sky onto Tomex. It means that Redline has the pressure. Even the stray picks onto people like Fate Jake not going to matter too much because we have so much attack. But look how long it took us. Look how many resources it took us. It took us basically all of our ultimates against a team that had burnt all of them just the fight prior. And then we only get first point by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah, I mean, you've capitalized on the mistake that VQ made in the previous fight, sure. It's a little bit hairy, but you're okay. You've still got decent ults. So walk in and should be able to fight this choke pretty aggressively, using your Flux proactively and clock if necessary. VanirQuick, though, closes some ults of their own, and so I do think Redline here are on a time run. I think waiting for the car is maybe a mistake here.
Yeah, might want to go a little bit aggressive, try and take advantage of that while they have it. Elias, who was causing so many problems earlier, gone from the sky. Zoro taking a mad angle now. It gets 1 pick. Is it going to be able to get more than that? You have split the members of Redline apart, but then you jump into all of the action. You barely live on just a couple of points of HP. You're now stuck in the small room with Kappa, but you're not dead yet. You're still contributing damage. Kale going down, but Jonte traded out as well. Things are finally going to work out for Redline, but just barely. VanirQuick making that one very scrappy, trying to get creative with the few ultimates that they did have.
I'm not sure how much I like that. The issue with hard flanking to the enemy backline on Soj is that you're not doing anything for your front line, right? And sure, you get 2 kills, but in the meanwhile, you've already lost your... you didn't lose your Pharah. In fact, you did use your Pharah, my mistake. Yeah. And you kind of lost resources on your tank, so sure, you get some flashy kills, but unless you literally kill everyone, is it really worth it? Centrella Pant, with the Flux, pops it first, only catches the one, but that still might be a dead Sigma.
Yeah, absolutely. The Focus Fire was fantastic there onto Kappa. Noxu's done a good job with the overclock, though, and we have all manner of support ultimates. It's Monk with the Ray, Kale with the Kekai Sanctuary, Fate Jake with the Blizzard, which could be the key difference maker here in these scrappy flights, these enclosed spaces. We were talking earlier about the Mei not finding a lot of value on first point, but when you come into second point, that is when the Mei pick does shine a lot more. I definitely preferred it for that section of the map.
Yeah, second point is definitely more effective. I think Elias really struggling to be in a position to find as much value as maybe before. And I think it's partially the pick, but I do think it's also partially just not having the momentum on your side, having to retake rather than having your opponents, walk into you. Very aggro from Noxu. That wasn't good.
I mean, take high ground, right? High ground is king. It doesn't matter if you absolutely explode and your brain's out doing it. This is going to give an opportunity for VanirQuick to recover here. It seems like they have been on the back foot since that sort of botched OC fight earlier. It's an opportunity for them to kind of recover and recuperate.
Indeed. Well, you can do. Ults coming online for both sides. Redline a little bit further back. I think use of the Kekai Sanctuary here is probably for the best. It will force an over-response from VQ as clocks popped early.
Redline, they're just going to disengage from this one. They're going to back up. This is very good discipline from them. Zoro also maybe peeking out a little too far here. Dropped to 2 HP and a Dream. Is going to be able to escape, but now is down a slide and down an ultimate. So very aggro use there. Kekai Sanctuary from Jonte as well. Another Blizzard from Fake Jake. And we've seen the value that these have gotten before. Every Blizzard popped has been able to get consistent freezes onto the VanirQuick players and just set them up for some easy kills. Redline, who remember barely finished first point in OT, might be able to finish the map with time.
Yeah, I think with time is probably a little bit generous. It's a possibility, sure, but remember, they're playing into the Flux, into the Barrage, and if they don't clear off quickly, then they get Kekai Sanctuary as well. Sure, their ults are good as well, but they've got to blow over their opponents.
Yeah, but they do play very aggro there. Central Pan. Oh, that's a huge Flux. It's going to deal so much damage. No kills out of it, though. Kappa gets Valley on the side with his own. And I'm sending Elias off the map with it! What do you mean? And Central Pan doesn't have the health because Noxu has the overclock. We finish on the very precipice of overtime. But the fact that we finished the map at all is a testament to Redline's recovery.
Genuinely, what was that interaction? Genuinely, what was that interaction on the Pharah? I don't know what happened there. Can we get like a replay? Like what?
I think you lose like movement like for a few seconds after you get, or like maybe a half second or so when you get slammed down with the gravitic flux, and so you were put on like the edge of the abyss, and then you back up slightly just because like you didn't know you were there, and then you fall, but you're not able to use your like jump jet or your hover.
Yeah, something like that.
That was very bizarre.
Yeah. Quick stats check here, by the way. Fate Jake laced deaths on May. Quite interesting seeing as how much criticism we leveled at him earlier.
Yeah, we weren't familiar with your game, bro. My bad.
These are the heroes which you actually like want Fate Jake on. You want him on a Reaper or a May or a Pharah, you know? The
thinking man's heroes.
But yeah, he's not a Tracer player, put it that way. I said like he's bad at Tracer. He's not. But generally, when I think of him, like I think of his time on the SRP check where he is on the Symmetras or the Omeys. As you mentioned, the thinking man's heroes. I feel like Elias, I'm expecting a bit more just like pure mechanical brilliance, and that is where these two players differ, and why we've been seeing the Pharah most predominantly here from VQ. Because if you don't Pharah, what are your options even? Genji? It doesn't feel good into this comp, especially into the chain. And so just playing the tempo, lobbing some shots in, feels plenty standard. Widow from Zoro. Come on, man. In 2026, really? Fair enough.
Yeah, we're genuinely going for a great bamboozle in 2026. What are we even doing, bro? Noxu, so unlike what VanirQuick were doing, Redline are holding on low ground, and I mean that's a way to get some value. You just steal Tomex's socks away from him, send him back to the spawn room. Now this leaves VanirQuick in somewhat of an awkward position. They pushed up, and they are still in a good position. That's a very creative use of the May wall. Doesn't really work out. It actually leads to Kappa just taking way more damage than otherwise would have, and Elias able to finally crack things open with a pick onto the Juno. It's not a good day to be a Juno so far on King's Row, but of course if you're VanirQuick, you're going to be celebrating.
Not a great day to be a Redline fan in general. Unfortunately,
good day to
where they were stymied for so long. Had to. Get kind of run up. What's Fate Jake up to, bro?
Where is my man?
What are you doing, bro? Who's gonna get staggered? Surely he gets staggered here. But see how quick his little legs can carry him. He's out. Able to keep his deaths at just a 3 or 5 minute time bank though for VanirQuick is an issue. One that Redline has to address, and swinging out fast with that speed rank. We'll be able to take up to the choke at least. Elias, what a flank. What can we do with it? Not a lot.
Well, I like, even if you're not doing a lot, I like Elias just being there. Of course, eventually you're going to have to contend with the frontline pressure. Maybe I'm eating my words slightly if your frontline is getting run over. But provided you don't even have to be getting kills, provided you're behind and at least a bit active in the fight, causing a distraction, causing some chaos. As, of course, we are down our tank, so VanirQuick going to have to just hold on for a little moment. But Central Pan already back in the fight now. Kekai Sanctuary, an option here for Jonte, but maybe not going to be required. Monk invests the orbital rate into that. VanirQuick get 2 kills through that without using any ultimates of their own. And Elias sort of just using the barrage, arguably ego there at the end. Who even knows at this point? But it was a bizarre fight from Redline. They used their strongest ult, and they lose into essentially nothing.
That was a bit weird. Listen, what I can tell you is the cart is moving. That, Noxu almost eats the rail. Has been getting over some pretty egregious deaths. Went slightly off kilter, I do feel. But a fight, it separates VQ from entering that third point with a hell of a lot more time than their opposition would. Flux popped early. Zoro, 35 HP, so can't swing with it. Will that be enough to keep Redline alive?
Central Plan briefly took a nice high ground position there, forced to drop down eventually. Redline have survived a lot of these ults. Now we see a lot of ults mirrored. I think that's Kekai's and overclocks on both sides. The Blizzard again is good from Fate Jade, but within the Kekai Sanctuary, you have all the protection in the world. Yonte just straight up ninja assassins down Zoro to win the side fight, and meanwhile the rest of the main fight does go in the favor of Redline. I think even though Fate Jake wasn't able to get any kills out of the Blizzard, locking everyone up in those awkward positions eventually allowed them to be executed by the rest of Redline.
Indeed. Love this meta. Love the amount of ults we dump into every fight. That one, I believe, 7 now. Part of VQ and a mirrored orbital ray. Monk doing his best to finish it off, but 15% left to go, and the tempo up from VQ well, make that an impossibility.
I mean, speaking of tempo, that's exactly what you want, you know. You can go in aggressively, get a pick before the orbital ray comes out, but that only works if you're able to hold on. Now it's a 4v4 situation. Orbital ray is gone now, so it is relatively even. Yonte just run in, tries to get an assassination, but it's not going to work, and had the return available as well. Not able to get out with it. Elias, again, sort of just peppering everyone from a respectful distance with the barrage, but it's good enough for a fight win and a point capture.
Listen, you kill one, you kite the Ray, perfect. All you need is for Monk to not stand there, and then you win the fight with Ray. Or even probably not with Ray, just with numbers advantage. But considering you don't do that, it causes a pretty unforgivable error, in my opinion. 3.5 minutes left to go. They need to hold, else there will be no extra innings for them. Pushing up now is Redline, and the Ray's good. Kyle dead. Is there more than that?
Yeah, should be Zoro as well. Like, where is my man? We're actually getting picks, and never mind, Centralpan has charged up to the Gravitic Flux as well. Has been able to execute off the back of that. Missed opportunity from Redline because they knew that Zoro was back there. They just focused on the main fight first, thinking, oh, this Sojourn's not going to be a threat. Comes through, assassinates your Juno, then the ult comes out from Centralpan. Real missed opportunity for Redline.
That it was. The coast needs to be perfect from here on out. 3 minutes to whittle off the clock. One fight in which to do it. Jonty, that Kekai Sanctuary coming online. Huge. Flux as well from Kappa. It's not going to hurt too much as well, but Zoro looking for a way to find value with this clock.
Set up on the high ground. Oh, the Flux. Yeah, the Flux was the thing that was going to counter it. Could just be a rock from Kappa instead, but of course the Flux up getting no value. Sojourn's traded. Of course the trade's always going to work out in favor of the defenders should enough time pass. And there's nothing, there's no immediate ults that we have on the field for VanirQuick. And it's the Blizzard. Again, it's going to freeze up Centralpan and Kale right there. We're going to be forced to go back to the drawing board. But now VanirQuick have a healthy ult economy to work with.
Yeah, you're going to be pretty happy with that fight, all things considered, if you're VQ. You'll lose your clock, sure, but you trade it for 3. Walking back in with everything, and the kid just takes a chuck at your opposition. Remember, trying to finish with over a minute is the goal. And while that is, you know, maybe an uphill battle, it's still doable in a time like this, because Redline need this orbital ray to find value, and instead it's the ray of Quick that takes care of Kappa.
Yeah, these Sigma Jewels are always entertaining. You use that grass like it's going to do anything against Centralpan's rock. 4-5 situation. Noxu has traded it out, though, with the overclock, and Kel's gone in very aggressively. Elias taken out mid-ultimate as well. Remember what we said about that VanirQuick ult economy? Well, where did it go? They had 4 ults, 3 of them were used. They didn't get anything out of them.
I mean, the Ray was good. The Kekai and the Barrage was good. And now all the positive things we said about VQ down the drain. Realistically, it's whether they finish with time or if they even finish at all. Now we get to sub a minute. Redline's all economy is healing slowly. Jonte closer and closer to finishing off that Kekai Sanctuary. And VanirQuick, sure, they've got the Flux, but that's basically all they have until we've got another clock to get cancelled out. Centralpan under pressure will be able to survive, but not feeling comfortable yet for VQ.
Yeah, Chain is gone, and so is the Rock. You've been able to get some good damage onto Kappa. Monk actually taken out by Elias in the meantime. Kappa locked up in this small room, so Centralpan has to be very careful, especially now we have Jonte's Kekai Sanctuary online, but that's not going to be able to stop or stifle the rails of Zoro, who now has the overclock online. It's only Monk who's alive, and I doubt that Monk's going to be able to even get a touch out of this. Obviously, we do go over for the stall. Trying to get this to no time is going to be what we want, but ultimately it's a 16-second difference. We do say that every second matters in Overwatch, and that is true. But are we losing sleep over 16 seconds? We'll have to see.
I would assume not, but hey. We'll have to wait and see, of course. Extra 16 seconds does give you time to take like 2 very fast fights, whereas with 1 minute you only have like 1 fight no matter what you do. This means you can spend more time like looking for like value pre-fight. It's an extra like Ananade, for example, if you're fishing for like cooldown value to try and fight off the back of. Take another gander at that stats. Kyle's somewhat struggling, 10 deaths. Jonty and Kappa even more at 11. And obviously leading the damage, it's Central Japan at 21,000 points of damage this late into the game. Sigma's such a character, man.
Mm-hmm. And now we have a distinct opportunity for Redline to make a lead in this one. They're actually looking really good. I think the thing that's coming back to bite VanirQuick, because individually, I think that they are the better players, but it's their ult economy. They like to troll their ults quite often. Either they don't get enough value from them, or they overcommit them into lost or losing fights. If it wasn't for maybe the somewhat liberal use of the Barrage and Kekai Sanctuary at the end of that last fight, they would have finished with more than 2 minutes in the time bank, and the prospect of losing this map wouldn't have even been on the table. So it's Zoro. Actually, both of these teams have the cast now. This is going to make Elias's life a little bit harder, especially with the silver bullets, try and keep them at range as well. Kappa on the Diva, a slightly different style, but of course Kale's going to have a lot to say about that on the Mizuki.
Lovely headshot from Noxu, but these are bold rotations we're trying to create, man, and it does make it a hell of a lot harder to find value. Zoro, of course, mirroring out that cast. Under pressure, low HP, taken care of. Central Japan, however, has to make sure not to have that death be traded immediately, and unfortunately he can't succeed. Noxu, triple kill, caught now in favor of Redline, and they might have dug themselves out of a pretty ridiculous hole. Remember, they always got full health. Now getting 4 points on the board here on King's Row. VanirQuick now trailing.
Okay, VanirQuick, they are going to be able to all spawn in together, so they should be able to take a reasonably early fight. Credit to Kappa there, who only went the Diva for that point to just break something open before then going back over to the Sigma when it makes more sense. That is some good discipline that we have, though this does mean that Elias is going to be a bit freer. I say that. The cast, of course, does a lot more work than the Sojourn against that aerial threat. And Noxu has been pumping in so much damage, almost has the Deadeye. It's not the most impactful ult, but it is going to be the first one on the board, and you can always get some kind of value with it. Side fight happening. Zoro took a bit of a wild flank, and we speed ring through Noxu. Perfect use of the grass to be able to survive that, and a lot of health off the back of it means Central Japan can take Noxu out of the equation. Zoro now has an angle through onto the rest of the Redline players, and it should be cleanup duty right now. VanirQuick, they will hold this modestly close. Arguably, the fact that a point got capped at all is a mark against them. The time between 1:16 and 1 minute doesn't really matter at this point. It takes you more than 1:16, even if you're going as fast as you possibly can, to cap that first point and then push it to that area. So essentially, it's even now between these teams.
Yeah, I do agree that it's a mark against VQ for allowing that point to get capped in the first place. That was very sloppy of them. And I don't think it should happen. I mean, you take a look at the stats. Obviously, VQ, more eliminations, less deaths, more damage. It looks numerically like it's working out in favor of them.
22,000 damage. What are we doing?
I don't know how we're losing this.
20k.
I mean, like, the gap as well between their competitors, right? You look, Kappa, he's doing, like, 6k less damage, right? Where you look at, like, Fake Jake, who's doing, like, 6k less damage. Like, we should be winning this. I'm sure it means you're feeding more supports, but, like, if you do more, you should win more. I almost feel like... I almost feel like, looking at like expected like kills or something, because the amount of like expected value that VQ are not getting is kind of ridiculous. Listen, they're on Cat Bastion. Is this ethical? No. Will it work? Maybe. Depends if Noxu and Jonty are feeling sharp. A good chain or some good shots could quickly clip the wings of this airborne threat.
Yeah, Kappa might struggle a bit. Of course, you have the grass as 5-bit, but your shield's going to go down. You're mostly just going to have to play a bit of a hiding match, to be honest. So it's a bit of a gamble that we're seeing as the engage does come out. It's reasonably aggressive, and Zoro just launches nukes into Noxu's face immediately, gets value out of that one. Fake Jake on the side, likely going to be finished off soon. Bison Tralpan, no, actually going to be able to, no, not escape that health bar. The fact that Fake Jake's still alive is ridiculous. Zoro, are you meant to be here? I think Zoro came here by accident, but it actually works out because then the engage in the front line comes in at the perfect time. And the best part, we're going to cap this and look at where the Redline players are going to spawn. All the way back at first. Can they even get here? Even with the swaps? I'm not entirely sure.
Honestly, don't think so. And even if they do, they have to walk into like Bastion, which is a significant lead. You just got to like pray. This is a rough one. It feels like there's no defenders in the chat today. I do believe a touch actually available for Redline, but how good it'll be, we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, they're going for a wraparound here. They're going to try and drag Car away here. This just works out in favor of VanirQuick, to be honest. And Zoro, of course, going to layer the artillery all over. Doesn't get a ton of value, aside from a little bit of damage onto Fake Jake there, who then sits in, tries to hold on the point with the ice block. And yeah, this is exactly what you want. Flipping the map is not what you want to be doing in a situation like this, Redline. They're going to now go in aggressively. Elias still causing problems. Kappa actually catches out Tonex here. So it's not all over yet. Can we secure the kill onto Monk? Barely, before we then get the kill through. Yeah, everyone's frozen up. No, everyone's frozen up, though, with the Blizzard. This is still anyone's fight, and Kappa's doing a fantastic job. Noxu is in on the Shion, getting some fantastic value. Yonte with the Kekai Sanctuary, going to try and live inside of it for as long as possible, but the close range damage of the D.Va just a little too overwhelming. Top 10 maps that did not need to be as close as they were. Number 1, that one right there. Credit to VanirQuick for the win, and even more credit to Redline for making that so scrappy.
Yeah, that was awkward. Probably shouldn't have been so close, as you mentioned. But hey, VanirQuick are able to find the win. 2-0 up, reverse sweep now required from Redline. And given what they've shown us today, it feels unlikely. But then again, they have managed to make a couple of these maps closer than we'd expect. And, you know, if you're a VQ fan, which I assume some people are going to be, a lot closer than you like. If you are Redline, sure, you've got veto, you've got map choice, but it has felt somewhat like nothing's been working for you. Noxu's been hot and cold. Generally, Fake Jake has been a strong spot, but everyone else has been pretty quiet. And you do need a couple more people finding their voices this late in the series if you want to have any hope of getting that reverse sweep started.
Yeah, and now it's a problem. You definitely looked a lot better in the Sigma mirror than you did in the Mauga matchup. I think it's going to be very tricky for you now because you used your Mauga ban. Of course, you do have the option of the first ban again, so you can try and stylistically make things work out for you. If you want to force Juno Mizuki backline again, you can do that realistically. But you can't stop the Mauga again. And the Mauga was causing you a lot of problems initially. I think, therefore, if you go to anything like a Flashpoint, I think you're screwed. Because you go to Flashpoint, you go up against the Mauga. Arguably, they're running the Lucio Kiri backline, and we saw exactly how that worked out in the first map. You're going to get circles ran around you. So Tralpan's just too damn good at that character to be taking a comfortable mirror for that, right? Looks like we'll be deciding our next map reasonably quickly here. Or at least we're going to be having a look at the map pool more than anything else. Okay, it has been Suravasa that has been selected. I mean, the standard pick. I think you lose, but I think that you could lose in some amount of style. Maybe something like a... I'm at a loss, to be honest.
Bull Tracer Shion.
Sorry?
Play Bull Tracer Shion. Is it good? It's okay. Is it fun? Absolutely.
Oh yeah, just have all the characters go as quick as humanly possible, and because because we're basically like 12-year-olds that just eat crayons all day, that appeals to us greatly.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
What, eating crayons?
Yeah, honestly.
We gotta make it a donation goal, and someone will actually raise the money, and then you will have to just eat a crayon.
It's actually a pretty good donation goal. You know, I'm not doing this for free.
Would you do it for like? Okay, say like I offered you like 100 quid. Would you eat an entire crayon?
Yeah.
All right, drop me the PayPal.
Drop
me the PayPal this second.
You have my PayPal, bro.
Do I? When have I paid you?
I don't know. For being a baller.
Oh no, you paid me for stock code. Okay, so you have mine. I'm not the one accepting this, bro. We already established this.
That's true. We'll sort it out after the stream.
Okay, don't even worry about it.
We're locked in at the moment, trust.
I am trying to think if there is anything stylistically that we can do. The bans are going to inform us quite well.
Bastion Diva ban is just like Kappa. Kappa is very known for the Diva. I see. So we get the Amalgam Mirror again. We remember how this worked out last time for Redline. VanirQuick now looking to just win off the back of their superior momentum. Noxia, you'll know, on the Soj rather than the Xion. Does make him a target.
Ooh, okay. Monk does a good job. Find Elias first means that the front line of VanirQuick going to be quickly overwhelmed, and that does work out for them quite well. So an initial first fight, an initial first cap for Redline. Things working slightly more in their favor right now. What is Yonte doing on the cap? I know that you can play cap without the Bastion. So it's not necessarily just a case of that, but I am not sure what... that is the value that the cap provides you, generally. That and being, like, unkillable, but a lot of supports can do that. So I am interested into why Yonte has picked this specifically. It can help your team with some ability, but in terms of that individual pocket potential, it's not quite as strong. Central Pan taking so much damage, though, and I mean, that's certainly one way to do things. If Central Pan keeps getting run down every fight, and the front-loaded damage is so overwhelming, that's always going to be a point against VanirQuick.
Well, he does get his one before he's taken care of, but I don't know how much value you'll necessarily find from that as Elias backs out. Yeah, Central Lapland is going to have to not get pre-fighted, though. It's been sloppy. Redline better ults. This is very likely going to be their point unless Zoro finished off the Satsurico's 3 and finds value. Or whether we just find a straight-up mechanical kill. Zoro, 40 HP, is able to back out. Like, no connection. Ults online on the point.
Yeah, Overclock has been forced off the high ground, so we don't have great sights with it, and Zoro catches us with the spree instead. Noxu taking down Central Pan, dead, however. We're in a... now we're in a 3v3, but we still have the tank presence for Redline that's going to be so valuable. Kitsune Rush is placed in from Tomek, so VanirQuick, they are fighting this one. They are fighting it aggressively, but we are now locked up in the cage, doing everything that we can to break it. Sound Barrier comes out, but not quite quick enough to be able to save Tomek. Can we get the execution onto Kappa? No, not quite. We do get Central Pan back in the fight, though. Kale taken down. No supports alive for VanirQuick, while Redline still have Akiri on their side. And yeah, they're able to get the objective back. Are we able to trigger overtime? Barely. Elias able to tap back in. And we have a Death Blossom now on both sides, actually. Looks like we'll try and make some chaos. Cage as well, with the Blossom used inside of it. That's going to get your value, but it took VanirQuick absolutely everything. And they're still not guaranteed to win this first point.
They are not. That is true. I will say, hats off to Zoro, who played an absolutely fantastic fight there. I believe it was 3 kills, the opening double with the Satsuricu's 3, able to take care of, I believe, Jonty on the Jetpack Cat a little bit later. Super impressed by the output that we're seeing from him. Maybe what you'd expect from a DPS of his caliber, but still lovely to see in the server. Speaking of the Satsuricu's 3, that's the only ultimate that VQ have to play with. Redline have plenty, and even though the Catnap's not as powerful as some of its counterparts, still a threat that VQ have to navigate.
Yeah, and Fate Jake with the Blossom as well. Always going to be a problem, though. Your Soj getting pre-fight, and actually 2 of your players getting pre-fight is not great. Now you have an awkward decision to make at 70%. Do you commit these ults? Well, I mean, you don't really have the option to anymore, and the answer is no. So you're going to lose the entire point for that, mostly in the hope that you will have the advantage into the next point, which you realistically should, but it still doesn't feel good to get 99 on the first point, and then to end up losing it.
Yeah, I think a couple pretty sloppy mistakes were made there, unfortunately. Heading towards what seems like Temple next. And VQ now feeling themselves much more, as you mentioned, Redline an advantage in this fight in terms of the ult economy. But VQ have been the better for, you know, general early fight value. Noxu on this Soj, I'm not that sold on. I haven't seen the value yet, and I think it's a compositional weakness.
Still a lot of resources for Redline to work with. Just a matter of applying those resources, using them well. VanirQuick will show with that so far. They TP in as the slam comes out, and again, it's the initial pick that goes the way of Monk. We do use the catnap. We're able to get Central Pan off the map. That is some fantastic value obtained from it there. And so we do use our ult. We do use them quite effectively as well. It's a catnap, a Kitsu, and a Blossom that's used. VanirQuick held on to, well, most of their ults, to be honest.
I feel so vindicated. Even in a losing fight, Zoro kills 3, Noxu kills 1. Like, I just think the Shion's so much better than the Soldier in this setup. Aggressive from Central Japan. Beat maybe needed to extricate this Reaper, but we just decided to sell him. Fair enough, I guess, but Redline, you know, going to be taking up in favor of percentage. VQ losing control, perhaps. What?
Okay, we re-aggress here with the sound barrier. That is a perfect bait and switch. Noxu definitely gets caught out by that. Cage now on the objective, and Zoro comes in with the bike to get some juicy damage onto everyone. A lot of members very, very low, and this is exactly where the Shion shines in these scrappy scenarios with so many targets to assassinate. I wasn't convinced that would work from VanirQuick when I first saw it, but even the idea and concept, I was like, well, that's hype. You re-aggress with the beat after the fight, basically.
I've seen worse ideas, to be fair. That being said, I still probably would have preferred if we tried to beat inside the cage, save our Reaper. Oh, Satsuriku 3 early and already destruction. We see in the lobby, Monk dead. Kappa takes the reset. That's an easy 1 ult fight for VQ. Time where they kind of needed it. Redline, obviously don't spend a thing. They can keep banking ults for that next battle. But, I don't know. I feel like if I'm Redline, I'm winning so many good fights, but just when the going gets tough, they're not the tough who get going. They actually just get run over.
And VanirQuick now, they're actually choosing to stuff the choke. Chokes, they want to play aggro. They want to force as many resources out of Redline as they possibly can. Noxu does use the OC, but there's a good amount of separation that VanirQuick have with everyone else, so it's not able to get a lot of value. Then again, Tomex also use the Kitsune rush and just to force people back. Fake Jake caught out on the side there, isolated by Kale and another, I believe. Now, Elias has TP'd onto the objective, but you're in a 4v5 situation. You're going to be stranded here. Elias uses the Blossom. Still some trades for Redline, and we have Central Pan caught up in the cage. The Lucio healing is not going to be enough to keep him alive, and it's good enough for Redline to actually win out on this fight. 75% leaves us with the age-old question of VanirQuick. Can they touch this? Do they want to touch this? Elias goes over Tracer indicates that we want to.
I was going to say no Zoro surely means that we're not going to. Tracer here, not unplayable in a setup like this, but does feel a little bit strange and too far away, I believe, to get that touch. They sprint on. They're here. No Centralapan, though. No Shion as well. This might be it. At least here for this point. Noxio, a great kill onto Carl, and Redline have been able to hold fast.
Okay, it turns out that this Cat Kiri style is giving VanirQuick a lot more trouble than we gave it credit for. Why that is, I could not tell you, genuinely. But it's clearly working out for them. And the Cat can, of course, get some more value with the Catnap. There is a very perfect edge of the map right by this objective that Jonte would just love to drop someone like Centralpan into. Elias swapping back over to the Reaper to keep up the frontline pressure. Now be careful to not get sniped on the side by a Shion. Zoro going to make leave with the bike and actually try and have a little bit of a collapse here onto Redline, trying to attack from both fronts at the same time. This means that one of them is going to inevitably weaker. They think that's the front, but it's going to be reinforced with the sound barrier used to counter out the cage. And Centralpan now in a pretty peculiar position. 3 from Zoro. It's able to get some value. 1 kill off the back of it. VanirQuick actually take the point off this, even though Redline still have the tank presence. So surely they should be able to retake quickly, but no, they're actually forced to get out.
Yeah, they are. 16, not 20% for VQ. Redline can walk back in with that clock. Going to be essentially unanswered. Instatomics finishes off that Kitsu. VQ have to look for the hit. Redline, as long as they can avoid it, as long as they can absorb it, should be winning out this fight.
Oh, Noxu instantly utilizing the Sojin ultimate. Yonte is going to be taking Elias off the map. Not with the Catnap, as a matter of fact, with the Purr. Okay, interesting work there. But we're still in a winning situation for VanirQuick. Even though Redline had the numbers, VanirQuick just held stalwart on the point, and Zoro doing a fantastic job of collecting a couple more kills.
Indeed. 80% now, eking towards. A great fight again from Redline that was not able to be converted. Supports here, big. Cage as well, incredibly useful. Just have to pick a tool and go because we're getting hit late so many times.
Yeah, Kitsurush utilized, that allows a player like Fate J to get so much damage. Jonte, I think, went for a catnap there. Wasn't able to get much value out of it. And Kappa's going to say, hey, how you doing? Slam back into the members of VanirQuick to regain the point again. And again, it's back and forth. These teams have become more evenly matched as the series has gone on. It's a fun thing to see how VanirQuick going to do in this next fight.
Again, in a pretty good position. Set up super early is Redline, looking for a possible higher ground rotate that may yet be coming through. But there's not a lot they can really do about it. Just back up to the point and look for a more standard type of battle. Redline, Cage might be a double-edged sword here, rather just bait the opponents into a raw mirror fight rather than looking for something where you can take a bit more advantage.
Oh, we go in, we get the Cage. It is instant and it is immediate, and it is onto Noxu. We try and counter back from the initial death loss with one of our own. It seems like VanirQuick had that one well and truly scouted. Just a stray cat trying to make its way into the pond for some refreshment, for a hydration break, if you will. But we're not going to be allowing that in Suravasa. So now VanirQuick not just on map point, but on match point as well. Redline have done well for themselves to recover, but what good is a recovery if you can't get a win out of it?
Exactly. It feels like that's been, again, a story of Redline. So many times they've played well, so many times they've been close. In terms of wins, still a goose egg on the board, right? VQ, good ults. Redline, the same could not quite be said. Kitsu pop, Centralapan, Deep Monk exploded.
Yeah, Elias were able to live just in time with the Wraith form there. And it's a situation in which the rest of the members of Redline are going to be forced back or out. And this is the pace that you're able to see when Redline insist on the cat instead of the Lucio. You just can't play as rapidly. And again, fast isn't always a good thing, but when you're able to pick and choose your engages and have them happen so efficiently, that's always going to help VanirQuick.
It will. Looking for targets as fast as possible. It feels like the hits are basically always been better. I do think having that Lucio is so much stronger here. Beat through again. Tempo turned. Redline exploded. We're not finding cat value here, Ben. We're not at all.
Did you just bend me, bro?
I did. I'm mad. Get them off cat.
Hey, it worked for like the second point. Don't even worry about it. I mean, Yonte still has the catnap. Probably not keen to swap anytime soon, but what good is that if you're caught with a Cage that Centralpan can utilize? And then a Spree within the Cage? Oh, that is the ult combo that might be the death of Redline now.
One has to expect it would be. You don't have a defensible. Again, you don't have a Lucio. Redline, sure, if they get a long fight, they get a Cage Blossom. That should be lights for VQ, but they need to actually get there first, and VQ do not want to give them time to get there.
No, they're not. Again, they're just going to utilize their pace. They don't even need to use the Cage. They just engage with the Sprees. There is barely a touch on the point. Solo Cage outside of the objective onto Kappa. It's just Yonte on the objective who isn't able to hit the catnap and then gets executed by the Reaper. It was hard fought from Redline, but a VanirQuick 3-0 was promised to us and a VanirQuick 3-0 was delivered to us. So big congratulations to them on that victory and commiserations to Redline, of course.
Yeah, well fought from Redline, but simply not good enough today to take it home. I think a little bit of choke, a little bit of silly mistakes. Either way, it feels like anytime they had a lead, and it wasn't an uncommon event, they just weren't really able to keep hold of it, and VQ always able to rewrite themselves. No Lucio as well. Play Lucio. Don't play Jetpack Cat. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. I feel like I need to really emphasize this, right? It weren't good, and unfortunately, it undid the really strong performances from the DPS.
It's just the ability to take your engage exactly when you want them. Again, people often kind of break Overwatch down into either you play fast or you play slow, and it's of course not that binary, not more. It's not complicated, but with Lucio, you sort of have the advantage of doing both because you can engage and disengage on a whim with that speed. When you have the cat on your side, sure, the cat is mobile, but what is the cat really doing for the rest of the team aside from helping individual targets into individual spots? And Bastion's banned anyway. So the main character that you get value with that on, you're not able to do it.
I think Redline also banned the Bastion, so...
Oh, were they the ones that... Well, who knows at that point?
I mean, why would VQ ban the Bastion when only people who played it on King's Row?
You raised a very good point, Mr. Bailey.
I don't understand.
And with that, I think that is going to be all from us today. So obviously, thank you to everyone at home for watching. Big thanks to our crew that's been working today. Incorrect, KPJ, and Bert. Special thanks to the VanirQuick organization itself. Obviously, thanks to the teams putting on a fantastic performance, and thank you everyone at home for watching and tuning in. If you want to see more weekly Face It Masters content, then do drop the channel a follow. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of your evening, everyone. Until then, goodbye.